Hello everybody, my name is Jorge Vernier from jorgevernier5d.com and welcome to another tutorial. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make ugly Christmas sweater in Photoshop. So as you can see, this one has a very nice texture. So we're going to learn to do this. And the idea is that we're not going to use any plugins or anything external other than just images that we're going to use to kind of create the textures. So without any further ado, let's just begin the tutorial. So I'm going to start by closing out this file, and we're going to start from scratch. So I'm going to hit File, New. And by the way, this tutorial is for advanced users, so I'm not going to stop to explain kind of what I'm doing. I'm just going to assume that you know some of the basic shortcuts in Photoshop and just basically how to get your way around in Photoshop with the tools. So right here we're going to create a file that is 6,000 pixels on the width, and then the height is going to be 4,000, and then the resolution is going to be 300 RGB. All that is fine, and then you just click create. And then what we need to do is we need to make a file that is going to be used to create our pattern. So for that, I already have this. Let me show you this file right here, which, by the way, I'm gonna share the textures that I'm gonna be using in this tutorial. So I'm gonna put a link to download them in the description below. So let's see. So I'm gonna start by going to Image, and then rotate it like this, and then we're gonna go to Image. Oh well, before that I'm gonna unlock this layer, and then I'm going to Image, Canvas Size, and we're gonna switch this to pixels, and then we're gonna change these values to 200 by 200, and then hit enter. And then I'm gonna make this a little bit bigger, just like this. So the idea is that we want this to be tileable. But I'm not concerned about the sides. I'm more concerned about the top and the bottom areas. So I'm gonna make this just a little bit bigger, kind of like this. We're gonna hit enter. And then I'm gonna crop it, make sure that delete cropped pixels is selected, and then hit OK. So now all the other pixels around are gone. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna zoom in, and then I'm gonna erase the excess, because like I said, I'm not worried about the sides, I'm just worried about the top and the bottom. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make this wider. I want this thread to cover as much as the canvas as possible. Hit enter, just like that is fine. And then since we're gonna make it tileable, we need to go to filter and then other, and then you click on offset. And you can see here a seam. We have this ugly seam right here, but we're gonna get rid of it. So make sure that the horizontal value is set to 0, and then the vertical value is set to 100. And the reason why it's 100 is because the size of the canvas was 200 pixels, if you recall. So you have to put it to the half of that amount. So if it was 300 pixels canvas, then you would put here 150. But because it was 200, then we're going to use 100. And then you hit OK. And then with the clone, what is the name of this? Clone Step tool, we're going to kind of get rid of these seams. Just roughly. You don't want to spend too much time here. So just something like this. Something like that. Okay. Just like that. And then I can see that we had a little thing sticking out here. There you go. And then if you want, Actually, let's see, let's create a background layer, and I'm gonna make it black. And then if you want to make it more interesting, let's give it some fuzz, kind of like a fuzzy, kind of like, you know, like rough, so it doesn't look too soft on the sides. Once you're done with that, then you want to go to filter and apply the offset again, so then it goes back to the way it was before. And you can also add a little bit of fuzz here just to kind of make it look very interesting. All right, then you're gonna go to image adjustments, and we're gonna apply a desaturate adjustment. All right, once this is done, you have two options here. You can either make a transparent pattern, or you can apply it with the black background. For in this case, I think I'm gonna do it without the background, but it's up to you what you want to do, and we can always go back and change this. So the first thing that I'm gonna do is actually save this file. So I'm gonna save it. Let's create a folder in the desktop, and let's call it, I'm just gonna name it ugly sweater tutorial, and then this file is gonna be the pattern 1, and I'm just gonna say 1 just in case we need to create another one. And then hit save. Then you're gonna go to edit, and we're gonna define this as a pattern, and we're gonna name it ugly sweater underscore pattern 1. Hit OK, and we're gonna close this out. Now this one, we're gonna save it, and we're gonna put it in the same folder, and we're gonna name it just ugly sweater, and just save that. All right, and now we're gonna create a new layer, and we're gonna fill it with, I don't know, maybe black, doesn't really matter. And then we're gonna go to click here, and we're gonna add a pattern overlay, and then we're gonna pick the one that we created. These are all the ones that I created previously for this tutorial, but we're gonna click on this one, that is the one that we just created. Just select that, and we're gonna do it at 30% and hit OK. By the way, the reason why we did 30% is because the idea is that if we take 6,000 pixels, which is the width of this canvas, and then we divide it by 30, that's how we get the 200, and that's the reason why the pattern was made in a 200 pixels canvas. So I hope that makes sense, but that's the reason why I set it to 30% specifically. Once you have that, then we're gonna create a new layer. This layer, we're gonna actually name it pattern, and then this one, we're gonna name it design. So here's where we're gonna put design that is gonna go over this pattern, and then I'm gonna convert it into a smart object, and then you can double click on it. Here we're gonna pick an image, so I'm gonna use the same photo that I used for the demo of this tutorial, but you can use any image that you want. So I'm just gonna put it right there, and I'm gonna save that, and then I'm just gonna scale it proportionally, just like that. There you go. And then hit enter, and then we can actually give it a black background, it doesn't matter. Then we're gonna add some text. Let's say we're gonna say gift, and this can be done with any font that you want. I'm just gonna do it like this for now. And then we're gonna close this out. Hit yes. So as it is right now, nothing happens. We're gonna change the blending mode from normal to overlay, and as you can see, the image, it looks like it's printed on the pattern, but it's not really following the shape of the threads. It's just a blending mode. It's really not adapting to the shape of these threads. So I'm going to show you how to make it so these colors adapt to the shape of the threads. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to hide this layer for now, and then I'm going to create a new layer, and we don't have to give it a name. And then I'm going to zoom in to this corner right there, and then we're going to draw. We're going to select the brush tool, and then we're going to draw a line, but I'm making sure that it's black, and make sure that it kind of matches this end of the thread right here, so it kind of has the same size. So we're going to draw a black line on these ones, but make sure that the opacity is set to 100%, and we're going to apply a displacement map. So make sure that the black line is applied on the section of the thread that is pointing downwards. So you can see that this part is pointing downwards, and then right here is pointing upwards. So hopefully that makes sense. I'm going to use a hard brush. So again, I'm just going to put it right there, like that. And then just draw the line again. I'm just holding shift to make a straight line. And then once you draw that line, we're going to start duplicating the layer. So the idea is that we're going to put this black line on all the areas where the threads are pointing downwards. So then we can select those two, duplicate them. And then we're gonna merge the layers. Okay, so it's gonna look something like this. So now I'm gonna go to File, New, and then we're gonna create a new file that is gonna be 6000 pixels by 4000 pixels. Hit OK, and then we're gonna duplicate this layer onto this layer right here. So I'm gonna go to Layer, Duplicate Layer, and then I'm gonna select the new one that we created. Hit OK. And now that's gonna appear right here, and then I'm gonna crop any excess, and then here I can delete that layer. We don't need it anymore. Make that one pop up again, and then here let's see, let's zoom in. We're gonna duplicate this new layer, and then we're gonna select the layer below, go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian blur, and then we're gonna apply a little bit of blur, kind of like that. Make sure that you have a thin white line in between the black stripes, and then you hit OK, and then we're gonna duplicate that layer by pressing Ctrl J multiple times. I think 2 times was just enough. So it's gonna look something like this, and then we're gonna save that, and we're gonna name it displacement. Hit enter, and let's just close this out and see what happens. And then we're gonna zoom in here, and this is where the magic begins. So what you have to do is click on the design layer, and then go to Filter, Distort, and then Displace. Make sure that horizontal scale is set to 0. Vertical scale, let's start with 10. You kind of have to play with these values. And then displacement map set to tile, undefined areas wrap around, and then you say OK. Now it's going to ask you to select the displacement file that we created. So you just click on that and then hit open, and then it's going to displace it. And now you can see how the textures now kind of adopted the shape of the threads. So this is kind of what we want. And I'm just gonna double click here, and I'm gonna change the color of this gift word to something more. It's just black doesn't look good, so let's just pick like a nice blue. You can still do black, but just for the sake of this tutorial, I'm gonna pick blue, so then you can see it better. Hit yes, and there you go. And then we're gonna add a filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and just add a little bit of blur so then the edges don't look too rough. just kind of like that. All right, so this effect looks very nice for images, as you can see, but for text it doesn't look too good, just because, I don't know, for some reason the text, it looks more like it's printed rather than embroidered, if that makes sense. With the images you can kind of get away with the effect, but with the text it doesn't look really good. Like some areas like here looks very good, but then you get here, you can see how the color is kind of bleeding through the threads, and we don't want that. So in order to fix that, I'm going to show you the workaround. We're going to get into the smart object here, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another layer. In this layer I'm going to give it a black color, and then this one, this text, I'm going to change the color to white. Hit OK. I'm going to select these two layers and I'm going to right click on it and convert it to a smart object. Alright, and then I'm going to go to filter, apply a pixelate, apply a mosaic filter, make sure that it's set to Terry so the pixels match the pattern that we have for the sweater, and then you hit OK. And then we're going to go to here and we're going to add a threshold, and here you can change it as you wish. Just basically you want it to be readable, so something like that I think looks fine, but this is completely to your own taste. So right here I think it looks good. Make sure that this threshold layer is only affecting the layer below, and then change the blending mode of this smart object to screen. Okay, but now the downside here is that now the text has to be white. Unfortunately, when you apply the threshold filter to any image, it just turns it into black and white, and for some reason you cannot change the color. Like even if I do color overlay, it's just gonna color the entire thing, and there is no blending mode that can fix that. So I'm just gonna cancel this, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fake it because I still want this gift word to be blue. So I'm gonna duplicate these two. I'm gonna hide these layers, and I'm gonna keep them here just in case I want to change the text. So this is like the editable part of it, and then this is the one that we're gonna rasterize. So I'm gonna select those two, and then right click on it and click on rasterize layers, and then I'm gonna hit Control E to merge them together. So it's gonna do this, and then we're gonna hit W, make a marquee selection, make sure the tolerance is set to 32 when you do it. If you have centers, like letters like A or B that have centers, make sure you go to select and then select similar, so then you can delete those two, and then just like I said, just hit delete, and now you can apply a color overlay, and now we can give it the nice blue that we had before. Hit OK, hit OK. And again, this is the editable version of this layer right here. So if for some reason you want to change the text, then you have to delete this layer, change the text here. I mean, basically what you do is, let's say I delete it, and then I make these two visible, and then I double click on this icon right here to enter into the smart object, and then I change the text for whatever, you know. And then once I do that, you just basically close it out, hit save, and then it's just gonna pop up here, and then you duplicate it and then rasterize it and then give it the color that you want. So it's gonna just look like this. You can hide this too, and then you can close this out and then hit yes, and now it's gonna update it in the main file. And now you can see how the colors of the text are matching the threads a little bit better. And you can see that it's a little bit off. So what you want to do is you want to click on the move tool, make sure that the design layer is selected, and then you're just gonna use the up and down arrows on your keyboard to kind of move it downwards to make it match the thread better. So just a little bit, and that's it. And now we have this really nice design right here. Okay, and that's basically it as far as the main tutorial. Now what I'm going to show you, I mean, you can stop right here if this is all you want to do, but what I'm going to show you right now is how to make it look a little bit just a little bit more realistic, and for that we're going to use textures. And again, I'm going to try to share those textures with you guys, so if I can, I'll give you a link to download them in the description of this video. So I'm going to be using this texture right here, this one, and then we're just going to put it right here. I'm not going to save that, and then I'm going to put it here. Then I'm going to duplicate that layer and then duplicate it again, and then I'm going to scale it to kind of fill this area right here. Hit enter, and then I'm going to duplicate those layers like this. All right, so the idea is that it looks as seamless as possible, just like that. And then I'm going to select all these layers and merge them together by hitting Control E. And then I'm going to change the blending mode to maybe multiply. I mean, here is kind of like to your own taste. You can try different options: darken, multiply. I think, let's see, this one actually looks very nice, makes it look like paper. That's kind of cool. Maybe lighter color, and then I'm going to lower the opacity. So that adds a nice kind of fuzzy effect, you can see. But it changes the colors just a little bit. That's fine. And then we're going to add another texture on top of it. Maybe this one. And I'm going to put it right here. And we're going to kind of repeat the same thing that we did before, but I'm going to make it smaller. And I'm gonna merge all these layers together, and then I'm gonna just scale it down just like this. There we go. So you can see this texture is nice because it has like all these little fuzzy lines that makes it look very realistic. And then we're gonna apply another blending mode. So let's see which one. Let's see which one works good for this. Let's see. It's kind of hard to see it. Oh, maybe difference looks kind of cool. It actually makes it darker. Oops. What am I doing? I'm trying to zoom out. I guess the problem with difference is that it creates these nasty artifacts, and I want to get rid of them. So maybe difference is not the answer. Soft light kinda does a nice effect too, and it kind of brings back the colors too, so that's actually very nice. All right, so let's say we like that. Just as a demo, I'm gonna download another image, and then I'm gonna put it here so you can see the result with a different image. So just give me a second. And downloaded this nice image, this one. So it's just kind of to give you a demo to show you how that this works with pretty much any image that you want. So I'm gonna double click here in this icon on the smart object to get into it, and then I'm gonna duplicate this nice dog here, or not duplicate it, but position it here, or place it. That's a better word. And I'm gonna make it bigger. Just put it right there, and let's create a new text. Let's type happy days. Just like that. And let's give it the font. And I'm gonna make it bigger. Just like that. And then I'm gonna do what I told you before. But in this time I'm not gonna make a smart object or anything like that. I'm just gonna rasterize it, and then I'm gonna create a layer here, make it black. You kind of have to do that. Make sure you merge them together, and then you go to filter, pixelate, mosaic, make sure it's 30, and then you hit OK, and then you go to image adjustments, apply a threshold, you pick whatever size of pixels you think read pretty well, and keep the shape of the font. I'm gonna call it good right there, so I'm gonna hit OK, and then I'm gonna make a selection of the black areas, and then select similar, hit delete, and now I'm gonna maybe give it another color to the font. That's pretty ugly. Maybe that yellow looks, I mean, if it's an ugly sweater, then we want to kind of like a pretty nasty color, so that yellow I think looks pretty good. And then you just close this out, close the smart object, and then save it, hit yes, and boom, you have it right here, and that's it. The only thing that is kind of bothering me is this line, this white line right here. You can see that it's kind of like on the way. It removes some of the realism. So let's fix that. Let's open our pattern, and it's just this part right here. So I'm gonna clone these darker areas and just get rid of it because I don't like it. And even here too. And here, we're gonna make sure that you don't see that, like any bright spots or anything like that. Just pretty more neutral colors. And then we have to apply an offset. Make sure that there's no weird seams or anything, and then nothing's there, so I'm just gonna cancel it. Make sure that you save, and then you go to edit, define pattern, and then we're gonna name this ugly sweater pattern 2. Okay, close this out, and then here on the pattern layer I'm just gonna double click on that pattern overlay, and now we're gonna select the new one and hit OK. Whoa, that makes that makes a huge difference. There you go. That definitely makes a huge difference. So that's it. As you can see, it works really nice. You can see that maybe the fuzzy layer, it's too visible. I mean, it's kind of up to you. I think it actually looks very nice, but if you want to lower the intensity a little bit so it's not too on the way, you can do that. And then it looks like that. So I think that's pretty convincing. I hope that you guys like this tutorial. If you have any questions, I know that I kind of went everywhere, like saying a bunch of things, but maybe made it very confusing, but hopefully you guys make sense of what I did and are able to follow the steps. So that's it from me, and I hope that you guys like this tutorial. Hit the like button and obviously the subscribe button too. And that's it. I'll see you guys in a future tutorial. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.